Hey guys, welcome back to the third episode. And now we continue to basically import a pistol, equip the pistol with a socket, spawn this actor from class. So this means we just need to set up a basic pistol blueprint. No, I don't want to save, thank you. After creating the BP pistol, which in this case needs to be a skeletal mesh, because we are setting up line trace. No, not really line trace. We're using sphere trace because line trace is a little too it's going to be too hard to hit zombies with a line trace, especially when we have this kind of game mechanics. So we are going to use a sphere trace. Also later for the knife, we're going to use a sphere trace event. And this is the reason why we need a skeleton mesh. For everything else, like a herbal item, maybe a ribbon to save the game, a key item, bullets, you don't need a skeleton mesh because these are just items we pick up and we have them in our inventory. And from our inventory, we are going to set up later. We will just use them, reload them, etc. But in this case, our weapons, make sure when you import the static mesh, you can just straight import this as a skeletal mesh. If you don't know how to do this, when you import a static mesh, just right click on your static mesh and then on top you can see convert to skeletal mesh. And then Unreal Engine is going to create a skeleton and a skeletal mesh and also like a physics asset. Okay, so what you need to do, when you have your FBX, so when you have your pistol purchased on the Unreal Engine Marketplace, you find decent looking models which are free on some websites. So it's up to you how to get them. So when you have weapons, this is a folder you need to create. After you create a folder called weapons, you create a folder called pistol, open this one up, and then you create another folder which is image. I will explain to you in a couple of seconds. You create a folder called materials, mesh, and textures. So you just put in your mesh, your FBX. So import this as a skeleton mesh. If not, right click, convert to skeleton mesh, and make sure that you have the skeleton and the skeleton mesh. You don't need the static mesh. You import all your textures, and from your textures you create a material. Okay, so let me go back here, sorry. So then you have set up your materials. You can see now I have many materials just for the pistol. You're like confused. I modeled this pistol in Blender, which is a Glock 19, and I'm like a fan of having many different material slots because later in Substance Painter I have more freedom to separately texture them without masking anything, and then you have to mask this, you have to mask the slide, you have to mask the bullet case, you have to mask the body of the weapon, you have to mask basically the attachments and everything. This is really annoying, so this is the reason why I like to have many different material slots, and I'm still having good performance because the more material slots I have here, the more material slots I have for the weapon, the smaller the textures can be because I'm just having one whole texture space for just one element or for just one part. If you have just one material slot for the whole pistol, then of course you need like 4K texture because you need to have the whole UV space for your magazine, then for your slide, for the rear plate, for the bullet case, for the bottom, for attachments. You need to have like one big resolution texture for everything. So this is just the way I work, okay? And you probably want to just want to have like one material, and this is obviously the case when you just purchase it. Then you're going to have one or maybe two material slots. But in my case, I like to do something like this. And as you can see, my textures are not 4K because I have like 1K for each texture. And this is plenty because as you can see, my pistol is still high resolution for just 1K texture. And it covers everything. Okay, so let's start. When you imported everything, we going back to our pistol folder, right click, blueprint class, actor, call it BP_pistol. For now, we are just using this one. Later, when we have an inventory, we are going to destroy this actor blueprint because we create a master item, a BP master item, and the pistol will be a child of the BP master item. But for now, we don't have an inventory. We are not picking up anything. So this is just for testing purposes, for setting up logic. We are just using this BP pistol for now. This is fine. Open this one up. Go to add. Type in SK, should be enough, and get the skeletal mesh. The skeletal mesh will be part of this default scene root. You can just double click here, or maybe just rename this. Type in pistol. This is enough. And you go on the right hand side. I named it SKM for skeletal mesh _ pistol. This is it for now. We don't need anything else. Make sure when you have a static mesh, just open that one up and remove the collision, because for every item we don't want to have collision because it's gonna create problems, especially when we attach something and we want to move with our pawn. It's going to create problems. So for all those weapons and items we don't have collision. Okay, so now we need to go to our character, RE character, mannequin, meshes, SK mannequin, which is our skeletal mesh. And when you see your root and pelvis and everything, so the whole hierarchy here, you have an hand _ R. So if I can find it, it's anywhere here. Hand R _ R. Right click, add a socket, double click, and call it pistol. Okay. So now we can see, yeah, this is our socket, but it's not really convincing for us now. So what we should do is we go to preview animation and just get your idle, for example, or you have a shooting animation or something like this, an aim animation. Just get this one where you are basically having your pistol ready in your hand. And now you can see, okay, this looks fine for now. And then you go back to your socket, right click, and add a preview asset. So we get our pistol, the skeletal mesh pistol, and then make sure you disable your snapping here on the top right. And let's make this one fitting our hand _ R. So I think this should be fine for now. Okay, nice. Save and close this one. So the next step is we need to create an aim folder and a folder for the shooting inside our animation folder. So we did set up an animation folder for idle and walk, and now we create a folder called aim and we create a folder called shoot. Okay, so let me get my animation now. Okay, you did retarget your animation. Everything's fine. You can see your skeleton has been assigned to this fire animation. Let's open that one up. Okay, this is a good example. If you have, if this is bugging out and you can see like you opened that, but it's not really showing, just go to Window and Load Layout and Default Editor Layout. And then everything should be fine. So your animation is ready. You have a shooting animation. When you're wondering like where did I get this animation, I got this from the Pistol mocap, Pistol Pro mocap. But I believe that this shooting animation is also in the basic, so Pistol Basic mocap pack. So just make sure that you have this, or maybe you find something on Mixamo. So just make sure that you have a shooting mechanic, a shooting animation, because this is much more important than just the frame, because we are going to create a frame out of this anyway. So make sure you have just this one animation, okay? Because for shooting, this is pretty important. So now, right click and duplicate and call this one up. Let's go inside. And let's go into skeleton tree, spine 02, and just go like this. Go to the head. Let's see if the head is straight. Let's make sure that I believe the head is not really straight. Oh, it's not. So let me pause this so we can see what's going on here. And just slightly rotate this one up, but be careful because this bone is already rotated, so we need to rotate this one on the z-axis and on the y-axis. Okay, and let's do the same thing on the upper arm right, which is here. Yeah, I think this is fine. Good, but just saving is not enough. You need to press key. After you did all your rotation, you can see spine, head, upper arm left, upper arm right, and everything you just rotated a little bit upwards. Make sure you press key, that everything is set, and then save. And now we do the same thing for down. Right click, duplicate, and then underscore down. Yeah, you can see I'm just doing a little bit of this, and this is already enough. Okay. You can invest a lot of time into this, but we don't do it now. I'm just showing you what to do. Okay, then click on the key. So make sure this is all set, and then save. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And then when you see this one, we have this regular shooting animation, the shooting down, and of course we have the shooting up. So where we also did rotate the head a little bit. Okay, cool. So now what we need to do, let's create a montage for this. Right click for each create anim montage, and leave it like this. So we have the fire montage, and we do the same for the down, create anim montage, and also for up, create anim montage. Okay. Now we can create a folder, new folder, and call it shoot, and put all those things, all those assets into the shoot folder. And now we put the shoot folder into our re_character animation folder. But this is for the next episode. What we're doing for this episode will be our blend space for aim. We just need the aim. And now when we aim, we also just need a frame. So what we are doing basically now is we use the AS fire, we use the fire down, and we use the fire up, and create just one single frame of each animation sequence. This is the reason why we are doing fire down, up, and straight all, so that we have the identical animation for our aim. I did a folder called aim, and make sure that you have this one as well. So just get your, duplicate this fire and call it AS_aim, and then get the AS fire down, duplicate this one, and call it AS aim down, and for fire up, duplicate this one as well and call it AS aim_up. And then we have 3 different aim copies, and we just drag and drop this one into aim. So now we have things organized. Inside here, we open this one up, go to the first frame, and then when you have these curves here, or this additive layer tracks, doesn't matter, just right click, and then you have remove from, in my case it's 7 to frame 31, but just make sure that you have this one here, remove from frame to frame. And then Unreal Engine is going to remove all those frames after the first frame. And this is pretty important. 0 to 1, it's just one single frame. Okay, cool. And now save that, go to down, and also here on curves, right click, remove from frame 7 to 31, In my case, it's 7 to 31. Remove from 2 to 7 in this case. And then make sure that there's nothing else, only 0 to 1. And then we test this, save this one as well, close, and we do the same for up. Just remove frame 2 to frame 7, and then you can see this is also just a single frame. Sweet. Save this one as well. Now in total you should have 3 animation sequences, which is just a single frame each. And when you go back into the shooting folder, you have 3 animations for down and up, and the straight one, the center one, and you have a montage for each as well for the shooting animation. Okay, but we can leave this shoot folder. We can leave it aside because we're just going to take care of this aim animation. So what we need to do, we need to create a blend space 1D. So let's stay inside this re_character folder, right click, animation, and then go to legacy, I believe. Yes, legacy, blend space 1D. It's pretty important because we just need this one. And make sure you have this re_character, the right skeleton mesh, and just call it BS aim. Okay, this is our second blend space basically. When we open that one up, we have just only in the asset details, we only have the horizontal axis because this is a blend space 1D. The grid divisions, we change this to 2. The name would be pitch for up and down. The minimum axis value is -1 for aiming down and +1 for aiming up. This is all we need. Snap to grid, so we can place our aim easily. Aim, which is our aim straight, is in the center, of course. Aim down is on the left, and aim up is on the right side. Okay, this is it. So make sure it's snap to grid, grid divisions 2, -1, and +1, and it's called pitch. Let's do a smoothing time of, I don't know, let's do something like 0.3 maybe. So it's not really, yeah, so we have a little bit of smoothing going on here, and save this. Okay, sweet. So what we need to do next is we go into our BP_re_character, and we need a function because we cannot see our pistol, right? When we start the game, we have no pistol attached. We did the socket, but you can see here, our pistol is not here. So what we need to do, we need to have an event, but in order to have this event on begin play, in this case, we need to create a function here. So let's create a function by clicking on the plus. Let's call it F for function, equip pistol, so we know what's going on. For the pistol, we also need to have booleans. So the first boolean, we are going to call it pistol obtained. We don't really need this one now because we don't have an inventory. But later when we have an inventory, we always should use this boolean, because if our pistol is not in our inventory anymore, we store it, our pistol is not obtained. So just make sure we prepare this boolean for now. The next boolean we need in this episode, which is called pistol equipped, because in this episode we are actually equipping the pistol. I already did the pistol equipped. So let's drag this pistol obtained up here. This one should be here. Okay, so the pistol obtained and pistol equipped. So now every time we equip the pistol, of course our pistol is equipped. So yes. And then we need to spawn actor from class. And now you remember we did create the BP_pistol for now. So for the spawn transform, we get our mesh. Off of the mesh, get socket transform. And you might remember, in this case, we did call it pistol with capital P. And the return value goes into the spawn transform. From the spawn actor, we drag off of spawn BP pistol and attach actor to component. And the parent is our player BP, our character skeleton mesh, and the return value, which is the pistol, would be this one, the target. compile and save that. And this is it for now. And then you need to have another Boolean, which is aiming. So make sure that you have this Boolean. When we go back into the event graph, we want to avoid a running when we basically aim. So after the set control rotation, we want to get the is aiming. And let's just make it clean, select those two nodes and just collapse to macro. Go inside the macro, and then we're going to put the true inside as well. Let's just swap these two here. And we have true and we have false. So now we have a macro just in case, because we need this logic for different tasks later. Also, we need to rename this macro to press F2 here and call it is aiming. So we know this macro is just yes or no, is aiming. And now it's a little cleaner. Okay, sweet. So, but this is not it, right? Because we also need an input as well. And we also need to update our ABP, our animation blueprint, because we are going to use a blend space. So what's really important here as well is we need to have is aiming as well, because this Boolean we are going to connect. How can we do this? Get owning actor, drag off of owning actor and cast to BPRE character. So every time we aim, this Boolean gets updated. This Boolean from our BP character, which we just set in our move event, is aiming. Get is aiming. In this case, we need this information from our player BP. We fill this information with our is aiming from our ABP. So is aiming, just drag and set. So make sure this one is correct. And out of this BP character, just drag and get is aiming. And you connect both. So now every time this one triggers, every time we aim, this one is true. And then this one will get an update. This is also true. Compile and save. Then we go to our anim graph here. We did add already the state machine earlier. Open that one up. And next to our base animation, which is idle, walk and run, right click, add another state, call it aim. That's it. Just put it here and we drag into the aim. And from the aim we go back. So we have two transitions. So when we go from our idle to aim, we go inside here. So from idle to aim, just get the is aiming. Okay. So whenever this gets updated, as I told you before, from our player BP. So when we press our button later in the event, this is set to true. This gets updated with this value, yes or no. This value here, this value is connected to enter transition. Then compile and you see, oh, it's not, we get a warning. Go back to locomotion. And now from aim back to idle is aiming. And then drag out from there, not is not Boolean, this one. So when we are not aiming anymore, we go back to the idle, walk and run. So now you should be set. Just check this, everything's fine. And when we go back to our anim graph, from this locomotion, we drag out and call slot, default slot, because we later we set up our montages, our shooting montages. So then we need to make sure that we have the slot, default slot, connected between our locomotion and our output pose. Otherwise, our montages are not going to work. Okay, and this is it. So just in order for you to understand, when we go to locomotion, we have just a basic transition, and this is it. This is everything we need to have. In order for us to actually aim, we need to assign another button. As you might have guessed, you go to the third person, input, actions, from the walk. Just duplicate this one and call it IA_aim. Go inside here, and we go to trigger. go to hold, and the index here, just open that one up and do 0.1, which works quite nice for holding the aim button basically. So now you can decide what button you want to have for aim. Go into the IMC default, create another mapping, close this one here again, open this one up, none, and the none will be filled with IA_aim. Click on this keyboard and then I just click right mouse button. That's it. Okay, now let's go back to our BPRE character, go to IA_aim, enhance action event IA_aim, and then when it's triggered, we set is aiming to true. When it's completed, we set is aiming to false. Okay, now we need to do one more thing. We need to set a float value. And for the float value, because we need to, when we press W, we want to aim up. And when we press S, we want to aim down, basically. As you might remember, when we aim, we cannot move, because now you can see is aiming is true. We cannot move because this is not connected. Only when we are not aiming, we move. This is basic Resident Evil mechanic. So, but after this one, we need to add a float, because when we are aiming, we want to set the pitch value up or down. So basically this movement is getting replaced, because when we move, so when we are not aiming, so here, false, when we are not aiming, we can move by pressing W, but when we aim, we can just use this value also for aiming up and down. So right click on Y and promote to variable. We can delete this one here because we don't need to have this connected, but let's just rename this one to aim pitch. So get this aim pitch and set, put it here to true, because when we are aiming, we cannot move, but when we are aiming, it's true. We want to control our pitch. So our pitch for W, pressing W and S, so 1 or -1, is the action value Y. And we connect this one, because this is our movement keyboard, and we can just use this information. And then you might have guessed this as well. Let me just make it straight, so it's nice and tidy. What we need to do now is inside our animation blueprint, inside our animation BP, we make also the aim pitch. So we can connect this one with the aim pitch from our player BP. So also make a float. So we have this one as well. And then from here, we get the aim pitch, which gets updated every time we press W or S to 1 or -1. This information will be casted to this one. So this gets updated as well. Compile and save. Now you might have guessed it, when we go to our anim graph, locomotion, aim, we put the blend space aim, which is the blend space 1D, and we get our pitch and connect that one and compile and save. Okay, this information now will give us the aim up and aim down, depending on our right mouse button in this case. But when we stop aiming, we need to reset our aim pitch to 0, because 0 is straight. When we are not pressing W or S anymore, we want to aim straight. So this needs to get an update as well. So on completed, because on completed, we want to have the aim pitch again at 0, so it's straight. Otherwise, it gets stuck, and we will just aim up or down forever, and this is not really nice. Okay, and now finally one last thing, because we did a function for equipping the pistol, but we need to fire this function. So you remember, we set our pistol to our skeletal mesh, which is our player skeletal mesh. Socket name is pistol. Spawn our BP pistol we set up, and also the socket name, I forgot to tell you, is also pistol. And then snap to target, snap to target, snap to target, compile and save. Now we close this function again, and we go to event begin play, and we get this function to spawn our pistol, which is already set. And with the red socket, the spawn actor will be our pistol we set up. So compile and save. And now you are going to have your pistol, right mouse button, release, click, release, pressing W, and just release W, pressing S for aiming down, and release S, and you're back at 0. And this is it. So now let's test this here. And you are like, now finally be able to shoot some zombies. Or maybe some spiders at the ceiling here. Or some crawling zombies here. Okay. Sweet. I hope this one, this one was pretty long and a lot of information. On the next episode, episode number 4, we are going to set up the whole sphere trace shooting mechanic. Okay, see you on the next one.